All right. Good morning, everybody. It is Tuesday, the 7th of February, 2023, and it's 8 a.m. I wanted to talk today, I think, about I don't know how to start it without it sounding like weird and like confronting, but it's like the state of my current relationship with my mum. And mum, if you're listening, it's not bad, so don't stress out. But you can choose to stop listening here. I'm the first child of two, obviously. It's not obvious, actually. I don't know why I said obviously. I'm the first of two. Me and my sister were raised by our mum. I've mentioned on here until I was about 12, but my stepdad came in. And I was fortunate enough to have a step-parent that was there just as much for us as he was for my mum. That man taught me how to shave, taught me how to mow a lawn, taught me how to drive, really just taught me how to be a man, and how to be a respectable and respectful person, man or not, like just, I guess taught me the meaning of honor. And so I got a lot of respect for him, and I think over the course of my teens and building that relationship with him, my relationship with my mum has changed slightly, and not in a bad way. Most people, I would argue, most people that I know have a relationship with their mum where the mum is like still an authority figure, and as in like, oh, you'll be here at this time for this event and this and that, and like you don't want to disappoint your mum. And don't get me wrong, I don't want to disappoint my mum either, but my relationship with my mum is almost like a mutual friendship rather than that mother-son sort of top-down hierarchy. And I still have those respects. Obviously, I'm not gonna sit here and say that my mum and I choose to be in each other's life because we like each other and we're friends. Obviously, she's my fucking mum. That's a ridiculous notion, but I have spent time in the last few years, I'd say maybe since I left home and started doing my own thing, and I would actually say since she found out that I was smoking pot. Like we've hit this point where I think I realized that mum didn't have all the answers to life, right? All the answers to everything, and nobody does. But there's this very special moment where like mum's been in my life my whole life, and for the longest time I thought she did have all the answers because she's been run through the ringer. And if she ever lets me tell her story here, I'm sure you guys would agree she's been run through the ringer. But I remember, I have a tendency to be very critical. And I guess critical in a way of like, you could do better. I don't have the expectation that someone does X, Y, or Z. I just know that if they've only done X and they never included Y or Z in the conversation or in the decision, that they're falling short of their own potential. And that's not really for me to judge, but it is something that I do, and that's something I need to get to be better at. better at not doing. Anyway, the other day, Mum called, and it's not the first call like this, but our phone calls usually skew from, hey, how's it going? How are things? To here's what's happening with me at work, or here's what's happening with me in my life, and there's no issue with that. I don't have an issue with that. I like that Mum can call me and we can talk about all the different things and really go through all these things that are challenging. And I think there's the key point, these challenges, these challenging things that she's coming across. And I work I've worked in management and leadership in the past, and so I'm able to give a refreshing perspective often to those things. And I think it's really the classic trope. We need to be reminded more than we need to be taught, right? A lot of the things that I say, I'm not telling her new things necessarily. I'm just reminding her of who she is and reminding her of things that that we often forget, especially when we get stuck in these moments of conflict, or these, when someone spends their time and their days trying to make you feel small, trying to dampen your light so theirs can be brighter. You're obviously going to start to question whether you're even lit at all. A light, you know what I mean, not lit, but like when and I'm sure this is a relatable thing, you'll go to work and someone else they won't say it, but there'll be this micro jealousy, maybe this envy, and so they'll say things that just make you feel small, make you feel inferior, make you feel like you couldn't do as well, or like they could do better. And I guess that comes back down to where I was saying I can be critical, is like I don't try to make people feel small. I try to help them see that they are making themselves small by not reaching to be bigger, if that makes sense. Anyway, it's not about me. It's about my relationship. Anyway, I criticized her once for seeing a life coach. Now, side note, I think life coaches are scum of the earth. What can you provide someone, unless other than like pure empowerment? You don't have long enough to learn about someone to be able to coach them on how to live their life. And a lot of the life coaches that are going around are preying on like corporate entities, or like, middle-aged people going through a midlife crisis, or, people that have money, but don't have means to shift their perspective. And I know of a few life coaches that their job is life coaching, who don't have any credit, any accreditations or anything like that. They haven't done anything. What do? You do nothing. You sit on the phone, you talk to people all day about how they can make their life better, and your life is that's your life. What do? You do nothing. What did you do before you became a life coach? You know what I mean? Like, where's the credibility? I understand maybe if it was like a life coach, for example, you worked in business and you ran businesses that were worth millions of dollars, and now you're helping people who run businesses shift their perspective so that they can make millions of dollars. Fair enough. That's a good life coach, but that's not really a life coach, is it? As a business coach. So how can you be a life coach? No one has the answers to life. You have answers to make things better, but you're just regurgitating shit that you've heard. Anyway, I'm sorry, I'm on a rant. I criticized her for seeing this person, and because they spent a lot of money. I said, look, next time you have issues, just call me. Just talk to me about it. And we had a 3-hour phone call one day where I just put things into perspective. And the biggest thing that people forget is to ask questions. It's so easy to be offended. It's so easy to be upset. It's so easy to take offense and because someone said something and you're like, oh, hang on a second, what the hell? Ask what they mean by that. What did you mean when you said that? What does that mean? And a lot of people don't like confrontation, and that's completely fine, right? You don't have to like confrontation. It comes back down to fight or flight. You know, if you've got flight on your mind all the time, then confrontation is not your thing. But at some point, you're going to have to stand up for yourself. And you can't take someone who doesn't mind confrontation and just make them feel small the entire time, because eventually they're going to bite. Eventually they're going to come back and turn around and be like, hang the fuck on a second. Anyway, it's a weird dynamic. It's hard to describe. Sometimes it feels like I'm just going to speak my truth. Sometimes it feels like my mum relies on me more than I rely on her. And I don't want that to sound like the relationship skewed one way or the other, because I obviously rely on her, and I go to her for advice, and I talk to her when I need just a reminder of who I am and what I'm capable of, or, when I need to feel good. I can't necessarily go to her for bipartisan, I don't know if that's even the thing, for neutral advice, right? Because I say things very passionately and I get her riled up, and then she'll be like, yeah, fuck that person, or yeah, you're right. But I found that over the years, I try more often, I'm throwing and spewing wisdom at her and perspective at her, and throwing, you know what I mean, and just hoping things stick. And there have been times where it's been, challenging to, I guess, even have that conversation, right? How can this conversation ever be had? Because there's no intention behind it. This is a way that I'm feeling, but it's not a negative feeling. So what's the point in raising it? But I think it's an interesting point of view, an interesting topic, because a lot of people that I know don't have the relationship with their mum where they can sit down and they can chat like they're best friends, that most people don't have a relationship with their mum where their mum is open to criticism and seeks guidance from their own child, and that is, I think, such a powerful thing. It can be a lot of pressure sometimes, and it can be, I guess, frustrating at times when advice is given but it's not listened to, or when you just want to have a conversation and you don't want it to end up being an advice segment, and it does. But that doesn't mean that I would trade it for anything, right? Because I could have a relationship with my mom where she doesn't love me, she doesn't talk to me. I could have a relationship with my mom where she smothers me and doesn't let me do my own thing. My mom could be dead and I could not have a mom to talk to, So there's plenty of other things to complain about. There's plenty of other things to be worried about. But I wanted to talk about it because I had a conversation with her the other day where I helped her through a thing, and I gave her some perspective. Sorry. I gave her some perspective about work and how to, not necessarily how to handle somebody at work, but how to be, how to approach situations so that she stops getting into other situations, if that makes sense. I can't obviously go into detail because it's not my story to tell, but I can't remember the person or what sort of science thing this is, but for every action there's a greater or equal or greater reaction. And so when somebody does something, and this is such an important thing to remember, when you're having a conversation with someone, there's like 8 personalities at play, right? There's who you are and who they are. There's who you think you are and who they think they are. There's who you think they are and who they think you are. And then there's who you think you are and who they think you are. And so that's a lot to compress, and that's probably going to sound very confusing. But basically, all those little micro personalities are appearing through the veil when you're having a conversation with someone. And so you're going to misperceive things if you only have a certain viewpoint of them. If this person, for example, talks to other people about other people, like if they bitch, let's say, if they're bitching about people, you're just going to have that perspective of, well, I can only say so much to you because you're going to bitch, right? If that person only says nice things about people behind their back, then you're going to have that conversation. You're going to enter that conversation being more open and receptive to the things that they say because they are kind and they're generous and they're nice. You know what I mean? And so, the problem that we went through was, what's the best way to combat that? All those little micro thingos. I guess the key thing is people act a certain way for one thing. There's one common thing that all people on Earth share and fear equally. And I'm going to take a moment, think about what that might be. It's rejection, right? Every single person on Earth fears rejection. In some capacity, every single person on Earth fears rejection. We all want to find our tribe. We all want to find our community. We do not like the idea of being alone. Fear of rejection is one of the main commonalities between you and I, between people and their counterparts, or people and other people, I guess. I don't know. And so when you know that, then you get into a situation where you have a disagreement with somebody. What's the one thing that's playing in the background out of those 8 personalities? The one thing that's playing in the background is rejection. You don't want to be rejected. And if you're part of a team where you have to work well together, rejecting each other or being rejected by one or the other isn't going to help. It's not a positive thing. So the only way that you can combat that is dialogue, is having a conversation about it and making sure that you talk about the fact that you find it awkward, and being vulnerable is a part of that. It's a huge part of that. And so a missed opportunity for dialogue is a missed opportunity for conflict resolution. I think that a lot of people forget that if you just ask questions, you'll find the answers, right? If you can't peer into the veil, if you can't peer through the veil, if you can't see what someone else is thinking or how they're thinking or how they're coming to those conclusions, you have to ask. If someone's causing conflict between you and other people at work, if someone's doing something, it's not confrontational. It can turn confrontational if you ask in a way that's, why would you do this? But just stay calm, be placid. Hey, you said that before, or I've heard that you've said this. I just want to know where that came from, why that was said. And then open the dialogue, have the conversation, but you have to be receptive. You have to be willing to also accept that this person might have an idea of you. And if you really want to change that, and resolve that conflict, you need to make sure that person leaves that conversation knowing that you are not that person, that you are not the person they perceive you to be. We're coming up on 20 minutes. Enjoy the rest of your day. It is February 7th, Tuesday, February 7th, 2023.